Hello and welcome back to my channel and to my Fighting Fantasy Gamebook retrospective. And today we've reached book number 7, Island of the Lizard King, which incidentally, trivia fans, is the last of the books to have its own colour. You know, after this you get the distinctive green spine. That's probably about the most distinctive thing about this book. That's being a bit harsh, isn't it? But I remember when I first read this book, the first 6 books, whether you like them or not, they're quite distinctive. They've got quite distinctive world building, quite distinctive adventures, distinctive atmosphere. I felt this one was just going through the motions. I found it a bit conventional. It didn't really interest me. Reading it this time round, I was probably a bit harsh. One of the things that's interesting about Island of the Lizard King is it has a lot of plot. It's kind of like a sort of fantasy James Bond movie, right? So you start off and you go to this island with your mate called Mungo. He's a bit like Felix is to James Bond, right? You sort of turn up incognito on this island, and then you move through the island, you meet various enemies. And then, right, you end up in the mines that are run by the lizard men, and you kill the lizard men, and you raise a dwarf army. So it's like the bit at the end of The Spy Who Loved Me, with the armies racing around the submarines. So then what you have to do is you find out that to kill the Lizard King, you've got to visit a shaman. So you tell your mates, your new army of dwarves, go and wait over there, lads, and I'll come and see you. You go off and see the shaman, so you have this sort of mystical adventure. Then you come back and you have a great big battle royale where you have to defeat the lizard man, who just happens to have a spider called a gonchong that's sort of put itself into his brain like a parasite. So there's a lot of plot, And what's also interesting is that Ian Livingstone, at the beginning of the book, he's trying very hard to sort of build this whole world of Alancia. So he makes it a sequel. So right at the beginning, you're journeying south from Fang, So it's almost as if you finished the Trial of Champions in Death Trap Dungeon, and you're coming down coming down the coastline for another adventure. And at the beginning in the very first paragraph, Mungo, who's your mate, tells you a story about his old man, went into the labyrinth. And you keep thinking about, well, who was that old man in Death Trap Dungeon? Incidentally, how crap is Mungo? He's bloody useless, isn't he? He's gone in 2 paragraphs. He's either killed by a giant crab or killed by a load of pirates. What a crap friend he is. And he gets the last line of the book as well. Mungo would have been proud of you. Well, Mungo? No, Mungo is absolutely useless. Fortunately, the dwarf army you raise are pretty good. They're okay. So it rattles along. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different locations. Not very many interesting enemies. A couple of things I liked. You find in your adventures, you find the pouch of unlimited contents. This is great. It's like this little box, this little pouch, and you open it up and it's got an infinite space inside that you can put anything in it. What bothers me about that is, right, how do you find anything? At one point, you come across this water elemental that rises out of the water, and you can put it in your pouch. So it's sort of washing around in there somewhere. How do you find your sword or your potion that you need or whatever? I don't understand that. It's a bit odd, but I'd really like one. I'd love a pouch of unlimited contents. So there's some interesting little bits here and there, but yeah, it's fun. I wouldn't say I'd found it that fascinating to read. Turning to the artwork, we have a stunning, really iconic cover from our friend Ian McCaig. Incredible image. The artwork inside is done by Alan Langford. Now, Ian McCaig is a hard act to follow, but I actually quite like Ian Langford's work in this. There's some great creatures. Look at this strange crab thing with suckers. Wonderful. There's lots of wonderful creatures and really atmospheric drawings throughout. Alan Langford is clearly one of these... when I used to collect fantasy art back in the 80s. It was the fashion at the time to do lots of fantasy art with cave women in fur bikinis. Raquel Welch has got a lot to answer for, hasn't she? Or you'd have those kind of Conan, like Boris Vallejo type of things, with some incredibly muscly man with a gigantic sword and some naked, half-clad woman sort of going, oh my God, you're so amazing. That sort of thing. There's a bit of this in Island of the Lizard King, where you've got 2 sort of cave women, One of them is got a saber-toothed tiger on a leash. What a fantastic erotic image that is. In fact, she turns out to be completely useless. She doesn't really do anything and is kind of pointless. I don't really know what she's doing there. Anyway, so yeah, overall, a good fun adventure, very readable. I didn't think it was as distinctive as the previous 6 instalments. It's lively, it's well written, but it's a bit ordinary for me. I'd love to know what you think below. Next time, Scorpion Swamp.